Mr. Jamison, what's up, brother?
Chilling, man.
Dude, you're grinding.
Yeah, I'm grinding. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Go ahead and scoot a little bit closer or bring the mic a little bit back.
How's that?
Dude, you came from San Diego this morning. We planned this yesterday, and we're here.
Here we are.
Dude, where do we start? I guess if you were in an Uber, what would you say you do? Like what if an Uber driver was like, just you shooting the shit? Like, what would you say?
I'd say I've done marketing for clothing brands for the last couple of years, and I'm building I blow up brands. That's what I'll say.
Okay, so how would you define marketing?
Ooh, good question. Because there's all different sorts of,
Sure.
between digital and paid and what I specialize in my background is, I have a lot of Lululemon background and whatnot, and for me, I'm a community.
What do you mean Lululemon background?
So I worked at Lululemon.
Okay, as just like an ambassador or like just someone in the store?
No, I was actually on the men's community marketing team.
Okay.
So when they launched into men's, it wasn't performing as well as they'd like. So they realized they were marketing the same way they market to females. And men are so different in how they interact with the brand and shop and all that kind of stuff. So they realized they needed to go external. And they happened to recruit 5 people across the country.
And you were one of them?
Happened to be one of them.
How did that go about?
Yeah, I was at Under Armour before that.
Okay.
So
I guess, how did you get into marketing?
Yeah, I guess that's probably a better place to start from. So crazy story, right? When we got time. So I mean, when we start from the beginning here, I right out of high school, I was a weird kid, knew what he wanted to do, joined the military. I was getting recruited for college football right out of high school, and I was, again, just the weird kid that was like, no thank you. I want to...
Why do you say you were weird?
I just say, like, at that age, right, like getting recruited to play college sports is kind of like the goal for a lot of guys, and like playing at that level.
It's romanticized, especially during that time when we grew up. Like
100%.
Yeah.
Especially when was it like Thad Castle? What was it, Blue Mountain State and all that stuff, dude? Varsity Blues, all that stuff.
Blue Mountain State,
Let's
dude.
go.
I totally forgot about that show.
So impactful on that era of us. But yeah, I was like, no, thank you. I want to be in the military. My father was a fighter pilot. My grandfather was a 4-star general. Fighter pilots all along the family line. So
how did I guess before we continue, like, how did growing up with like a military family background and those, like, I guess, superhero figures in like what they're viewed as, right? Like military especially during that time, how did that impact like how you grew up?
Man, I'd say it shaped most of who I am.
How so?
It's hard to you don't realize it until you're older, and like the way you see things and the way you interact, the way your family interacts compared to other people's families, and how you are with distance and how you are. I moved around a lot as a kid due to that, and it shaped who I am and led me to this marketing connection community world. Because being uncomfortable and being able to connect with people and making them feel at ease and seen and whatnot is something that I feel like I've excelled at because of
the travel,
the moving, getting pulled out of schools, and being the new kid again.
Yeah. When you did, like, I guess, travel and move schools all the time, like, I didn't have that experience, right? So like I just found out Jamison's from like our same hometown, like when we
Fresno,
grew up.
what's
Crazy. What's up, Fresno? And Clovis too. And but like my parents like wanted me to, like, they had an opportunity to move out of state to like for a job or something like that, and they decided to stay because like I built like my whole like group of friends community like there, and like it grew, and some of my best friends are like still there today. But like I feel like there's so much lessons into just throwing yourself into like a new world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I guess, like, what did you take away from, like, I guess, moving at such a young age? Because it probably hurt too. Like, all these friends, dude. Like, you're like, wow, like this is a new friend, maybe a girl you liked or something like that. And then you probably just moved, and like your parents were like, suck it up, maybe. I don't know. What was that like?
Yeah, I hated it.
So you did.
As a kid, I hated it. Now looking back at it, I'm like super grateful for all the different experiences and all the things that I learned and taught me. But yeah, I think I think as a kid, I hated every moment of it. And I mean, yeah, you build community.
Yeah.
And then you have to start all over again. And you build community and you get ripped out and you have to start all over again.
Sure.
But now it's like anywhere I go, I have homies. You know, like growing up, like as a kid, right? We grew up in Fresno.
Okay.
My dad's side of the family is still there. We lived in Hawaii for a few years, moved to Colorado, moved to Wisconsin.
Oh shit. Literally all over.
Bounced around quite a bit. Yeah. So I got to see Midwest life, West, SoCal life. I got to see Hawaiian life and slow down quite a bit. And I got to see Colorado and outdoorsy and beards. And
how was living in Hawaii?
It was pretty sick. I mean, I was a middle schooler, so I don't truly appreciate it. You know, like now I'm like,
could have been nice.
I would have been sick. Yeah, but as a kid, you're like, there's nothing to do here.
Yeah, that island fever is like real when you're a kid over there.
For sure. And you can't drive and you're stuck and
sure.
Everything you see in like movies and whatnot. There was no social media at the time, so it was like everything was, you know, in the mainland. So
there's a lot of people who I guess never really experience like ever moving out of there, I guess, like where they're at. And you moved like a lot, right? Yeah. And if you could speak firsthand on like the United States is big and like the Americans are cool, but like you said, they're different in different places. So different. You know? And like, how would you describe, I guess, like those certain areas of the United States when, just so people who haven't been there like can know, like for example, like LA is such a bubble, dude. Such a bubble. You go to like New York or Texas or I don't know, like Iowa or something like that. It's not even close to what, because everyone thinks like if you're from out of the country, everything is California, sunshine and rainbows, like the beach, like all this. But what is it that other people do not see it as? Yeah,
I mean. That's what makes us so cool, right? That's what makes America so sick. And we do have like 5 countries mixed into one country. And when you're moving here, and this is actually especially important for like what I'm doing now. I'm working with companies that aren't American companies and they're from other countries.
Shouts out LSKD.
Hey, LSKD, shout out. So they're an Australian brand moving to the US. And a big part of that is same thing, right? They see, you know, LA, glitz and glamour, New York, Statue of Liberty, all this kind of stuff. And they're like, America. Where for us being here and being able to see all these different places and in the Midwest compared to the South, compared to, you know, SoCal, you know, all these different places really teaches you that like everywhere is different. It really helps broaden that, that thought of like trying to enter a market or trying to connect with different people, because everybody speaks different languages across the country, whether that be actual accents and languages or
howdy y'all.
Howdy, or like hey there, you know,
Shaka brother.
So the same country. It's wild.
You don't really think about that too.
It's insane. And then you get, you know, an Australian company where it's, you know, like 5 major cities across the continent the same size as all of North America. But there's not much to differentiate those cities from each other. Like they're all sick and they got their own Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane and all that. But they're all kind of the same culture. Whereas here, again, 5 different countries within one. So being able to speak to those authentically is so different from each other. The values are so different in each area. And so like learning how to, you know, in the field that I'm in marketing and connection and community, you really realize that you can't just like create an umbrella strategy. You can't do the same thing everywhere. You have to be able to connect and get on the ground and ingrain yourself in that community and
just dive in and actually be a part of it.
Speak their language.
So I guess from just moving around as a kid, you didn't like, oh, I'm going to be this great marketer or whatever. So like you go into the military and what's like the next step into marketing? So actually I wanted to be a sniper like my whole life. My parents, my family is all fighter pilots and whatnot, and I was just the kid that was like, no, like you're like, I don't want to fly shit.
I want to actually. It's just so funny because growing up, I watched Saving Private Ryan, right? And you know the guy that was like the sniper. He was my favorite character. And I wanted to be like that guy. So just
Or the movie Sniper, right? Sniper's a good movie too with Bradley Cooper.
That came
way
out way
later,
after.
way later. Yeah, way later.
But yeah, same. So that really impacted on like what I wanted to do and join with, and
sure.
So I ended up going into the Air Force, becoming a CPEC sniper, doing all that, getting out, and
real quick. So what's I don't know. Like, what's a sniper in the Air Force versus a sniper like in the Marine Corps versus a sniper in the Army? Like what's the difference?
Yeah. So the job that I had was more of like counter precision engagement. So
what does that mean?
Protection.
Okay.
Overwatch, stuff like that. A lot of bases.
Yeah.
And whatnot. Whereas Marine Corps and Army and Navy and all the SEALs and all that stuff, there's different types, different jobs and different squadrons and platoons and whatever. And they're going to have different missions across the board where it's going to be recon or scout or anything like that where you're actually going out there and neutralizing, whereas not the case with the Air Force. So that's a little bit of the difference. Okay. And then so when I got out, came back, didn't really exactly know what I wanted to do. Worked at a GNC for a month.
So fitness was like a pretty big part of your life, like this whole entire time?
It was when I joined the military. Okay. So actually when I was in high school and I played football? I was kind of that douchebag kid that was just like, I just got to show up, you know, like I'm a ball, you know, and I played pretty well.
So some pretty good natural talent. Some pretty good athletic abilities.
I was okay. I was in the right place at the right time a lot. But when I was joining the military, I was just something clicked in my brain where I'm like, I need to be in the best shape possible. I need to.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Yeah,
I'm like, I need to be the best, and I want to show up, better than everybody. So that's kind of my mindset going into it. Went into all that, did it, and then it became a part of my routine and staying ahead of the curve and PT tests and all that stuff. So then when I got out, had a buddy that worked at GNC and naturally was like, oh, I can speak this language.
And where was this at?
This was Hudson, Wisconsin.
Okay.
So small town, Wisconsin, and was working at GNC. I ended up helping out at my old high school that I went to.
Oh, nice.
Coaching some, football in the summer.
Okay.
And some of the coaches from some of the schools that recruited me back in the day before I left for the military saw me and they're like, hey, you still interested in playing ball? And I said, sure.
Oh, yeah?
So one of the coaches said, great, I'd love to have you. I'm like, cool, let's do it. So
this is college though, right?
College football. Okay. And I hadn't taken an ACT, an SAT, none of that stuff. But he's like, don't worry about it.
I got you.
So I was like, say less.
And this is in Wisconsin still.
Wisconsin. Okay. So then he ended up, this is like a Tuesday, right? I see him in camp, all this stuff. I'm like, okay, well, we'll see what happens with this. He calls me on a Thursday and he's like, that same Thursday, like 2 days later. Yeah. And he's like, okay, you're signed up for classes. I'll see you Sunday for camp, for fall camp. And
he just drops it on you like that.
I was like, oh shit, let's go.
You're like, I guess we're doing this.
So I was like, well, here's my 2-day notice, GNC, and headed to camp and played.
And they paid for your stuff.
Yeah. Well, military and and football. So it was fun. I learned a lot. Got beat up quite a bit. I mean, just like playing with the big boys, and I'm not a big guy, so it was a lot of fun. But learned a lot there.
Yeah. What did you learn? Like, are you just talking about like school stuff? Or are you talking about like, I guess, football stuff, or all the above?
I think all the above. I think for me, like coming back from the military and going into school as a 21-year-old freshman. Yeah. Definitely I had different perspective on life at that time. Everybody in my class is 18 talking about their daily struggles, and I'm just coming back from the military and I'm like, this is such a separation here, and I'm like not even that much older. Yeah,
I went to community college for a little bit, and like I was going to classes with like people in their 40s, like they got full-time jobs, all these things, and I got transferred to UCLA, and similar scenario, like these people are just complaining about things that don't really matter.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
Like, this guy doesn't like me. My mom didn't get me this dress that I wanted for this sorority event. And I was just like, what is going on?
So true. You know? So true. You got to a huge awakening coming.
Yeah.
Real life's about to hit.
Yeah.
So learned a lot that side. So I learned, again, how to relate to people, and like things you don't think about that you're learning.
Sure.
But now that I'm older, in retrospect, it's like, man, I was able to connect with these kids. I was able to build relationships with different, backgrounds and whatnot, and be able to not judge and make everybody feel welcomed and comfortable.
Yeah. Why do you think people have that tendency to, like, they might not necessarily mean to, but like have a judgmental tone, or have like, you'll talk to someone and you'll know like if they have some like judgment tone towards you, or something like that, and they might not mean it, but it happens quite a lot.
Yeah. I think it's just different perspectives on, you know what I mean? Like different backgrounds. There's probably something that led them to feel that way about something in their background. So I try to always be like open and to everything and learn, and then maybe have my own point of views. But I think it's just everybody has their own stories, and
that's such a good way to approach life, bro. Yeah. And you took these, like, is this when you started like, you started practicing these like people skills like in college at this time?
I think unintentionally.
Sure.
Yeah. So connecting that way, and it was pretty cool because after playing some ball and whatnot, I ended up coaching football. I just loved the game so much, and coached high school ball for a bit.
Still in Wisconsin.
Dang. Coached high school football, loved it. That was probably, for full transparency, my favorite job I ever had. Is coaching high school football boys.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
That is like the most impressionable age for young men, and the impact that you can have on them is incredible. And I'm only with them for a season, but if you think about it, like every kid still remembers things that their high school football coach told them.
Yeah, we were just talking about like my coach, like before this.
Yeah, so it's like it sticks with you, and it's like it's because it's cool, and it's something that you both share in common, right? Football and like hanging with the boys and all that kind of stuff, and you're able to then like instill these, like becoming a better man in society mindset, like without it being like, with the environment being something approachable and relatable and cool.
Sure.
Whereas it's not like we're going to sit down and talk about becoming a better man and making the right decisions and stuff like that. This way you're able to talk to them and be cool and hang and joke and whatnot, and be like, that shit ain't cool, man. Like,
don't do that.
Yeah, don't be a dumbass or something like that. And they're like, you're right, that is a dumbass. Like Coach said, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see. And I think the moment I realized that was it, I was unintentionally hanging with the kids, doing my thing, coaching, installing a 3-4 defense. And when, again, small town Wisconsin, right? So when they graduate, all the graduating seniors are in the back of the newspaper. And they have their little bio, where they're going to college, what they want to do. And all of them got asked like who their role model is. There were 4 kids that put my name down.
Oh, that's beautiful, bro.
In like a serious way. Yeah. And it wasn't like like, oh, Coach Bolt. No, it was like, Coach Bolt is a role model for me. And that one, I was like, oh shit. Like, this impact is real. And then it really like helped change the way I coached. It changed the way I started looking at things, started doing things, and started realizing
it's like putting a little bit more intention, probably, because you realize like the impact you have.
Exactly. That was the moment I kind of realized that I'm a leader. Yeah. And I don't think it's necessarily, like, everybody's a leader in their own right. Yeah. But I think this was my outlet, and it was cool to see an impact in writing, and you're like, oh shit. Sure. And like hit. Yeah. So then again, it switched. So then,
how did you deal with, or how did you deal with, like, I guess, resistance toward a young man, like, in that area? Because, like, obviously maybe you did. Maybe you had a perfect team that didn't give you any resistance at all. But usually there's like 1 or 2 kids that like, are like that little asshole that you're trying to like help. Like, dude, just like figure it out, dude. Come on,
help me, help you. Yeah. No, that's so true, man. And that, like, again, coaching, I've learned so much, and it translates to every piece of my life now. Sure. Where every kid is coached differently. So you can't, again, same umbrella strategy. you can't just say the same thing to everybody and they're going to interpret it the same way or use it the same way. Or you have these kids that are, trouble, or they need it framed a different way, or, they're a different type of learner.
Yeah.
So like some kids are very visual learners. I'll physically go do what I want them to do. And they're like, got it. Or it's like, I can tell certain kids, oh, you're doing this, you need to do this more. And they're like, oh, okay, got it. Which again, translates to everything that I do now and everything that I've learned. And you don't think about that till later, but like everything shapes who you are.
Yeah. All the dots connect when you look backwards.
All the dots connect. Yeah. So I think just being able to learn that every kid is different and every kid, not even kid, but back then it was kid.
Yeah.
Every kid needs, to be related to in their way that helped them. So I would say it in 4 or 5 different ways and see which one resonates with each
and then
kid.
Just remember like which kid resonates to which certain type of.
Totally. And that happens within the first 2 weeks of camp.
Oh yeah.
And you can learn a lot about, because you're spending all day every day with them. So
what do you think the importance of sports at a developing age? Because sports, I guess at a lot of schools PE is not as good as it was like 50 years ago. A lot of people or a lot of kids, at least my cousins or nephews and nieces and stuff, they're like on their phone all the time. They're on their iPad watching it for 10 hours a day, and their parents like sometimes take them out and what do you think the importance of actually playing sports like physically and doing all that stuff at a young age is to developing?
Dude, at the utmost. I think it's crazy because I was having this conversation not that long ago with a friend of mine, and he's younger, and I used to work with him, but we've become friends.
Nice.
And he is more interested in watching YouTube videos of someone else playing a video game, like that whole,
I don't get that, bro. I don't get it.
I can't compute it.
But you see millions of views on it.
It's just what it is. What it is now, It's wild to me because in my mind, I want to play. I want to get in there. I want to, man in the arena. Like I want to fuck up. I want to try to win.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of, and I think that comes from, the background of competition now is kind of being removed from a lot of things. And I think, to go back to your question, is I think it's so necessary. I think there's so much I learned from team sports, specifically team sports in general. I mean, tennis and whatnot, fantastic. And you learn like how far you can push yourself and the mental side of things and being disciplined and all that. And then team sports, I think, takes it to another level where then, again, I'll use football because that's my background. But like you're in the huddle with all different types of people and different backgrounds with one common goal. And you're all pushing together. And if you fuck up, you're letting the guy down next to you because then, he might get tackled and break his leg.
That's similar to the military.
Similar to the military, exactly. It's like version 1, and then military takes it to version 5. So
maybe more than that.
Yeah, maybe version 100. But so it's I think it's very important for development.
Heck yeah, man. So you got this coaching gig and you love it.
Loved coaching.
If you loved it so much, why didn't you say? What are you doing? Like, where did you go after that?
Yeah, you're right. You know what? What am I doing? I'm gonna hit up some high schools around the area. No, I coached, and then I had an opportunity. Our teams did pretty well. Yeah. I had an opportunity to coach college ball. So
oh, no way.
I coached college football for a few years. Where? University of St. Thomas in Minnesota.
Actually, I think I've seen that.
UW River Falls in Wisconsin, and then a little bit at UW Madison as well. So
no way.
Got to do a little bit of football coaching in the bigger leagues there.
That's awesome.
It was pretty fun. It's a full-time life.
With stadiums and stuff like that, that must have been pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty fun to like call your plays and see them work in like a college NCAA environment, and you're like, wow. Yeah. That's sick.
When it comes to, I guess, calling plays and stuff in that environment, it's definitely a team, right? It's a team of coaches that decide.
For sure.
It's not like just your play.
Well, it depends. That's what the coordinators are for, right? Offense and defensive coordinator. Okay. You're hired based on like your thought process and whatnot. And of course, everything is planned from during the week of practice. So there's nothing unexpected that happens during a game for the coaching staff.
Oh, really? Like they plan every play out?
They plan which plays are going to be called. Some coaches will script their first 20 plays, their first 30 plays. No matter what's happening in the game, They'll script their plays.
You're lying.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. So that's just some thought processes for football.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them don't, but some of them they used to be a lot more practice thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, what was it? Go back to the question.
All good. Yeah, I was just talking about like how was it being in like that big arena?
Oh, it's sick.
And I guess like your calls for the certain plays and stuff like that, if it was just yours or not. But I wanted to relate it to like I guess creativity and stuff like that because I just got into like I guess like sports meaning like football and basketball in the last like probably like 5 years, and like when we play like PE football and stuff like that, there's no like really plays. You just like say hike and you run and go up, and that's kind of what I just assumed it is, and people just tackling each other. But I've been finding like there's an art or creativity to every single thing.
Yep.
You know, so like how would you describe like playmaking as an art for football?
Oh man, this is a whole nother podcast in itself, dude. It's again, love the game, so the passion is real, and I think people don't realize how much goes into football. Yeah. Again, you just see people tackle each other and hit each other, and a lot of times people are like, why do they keep running in the middle? And it's like there's a big pile.
I'm that guy, bro.
Right.
I'm that guy at the bar.
Every single thing on a field, down to what hand is on the ground, down to what foot is shaded, down to the lineman, whether he's head up or on the outside shade of your head.
Yeah.
Everything is coached. Everything is planned.
Really?
Depending on the call. So like everything you see, the motions, the checks at the line of scrimmage, everything is scripted and planned and called through the headset. And it's insane.
They don't have that in high school though, right?
They do have that in high school.
They do have that in high school too?
That's where it starts, man.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
There's a lot going on.
Okay.
It's the ultimate like chess game.
Yeah.
Because then you're watching the defense and see how they react to certain formations, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna make a note of that. Later in the game, I'm gonna come back to this formation, but do something else.
Sure.
And they just set things up in the first quarter. Usually, they're feeling at each other out and seeing how you're aligning and adjusting, and then you make adjustments, and then you make counter adjustments, and then it's like boxing and chess all mixed together. And
I appreciate that, brother, because the thing that I always tell people is like you can't really appreciate like a sport or a craft unless like you understand that sport or craft, if you know the rules behind the game.
For sure.
You know, and that's awesome.
Yeah, but, it's sick, and again, it leads into stuff I'm doing now. So to go back to
we're at college football.
I was coaching college football.
We're getting there, guys. We're getting there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. One of the guys that I coached graduated and worked for Under Armour.
Okay.
So he called me up. I was recruiting. I was literally on the road. I remember I was in Winona, Minnesota, recruiting a high school kid.
Yeah.
Sitting in a hotel room, broke, and just loving my job, but I was so broke.
So college coaching doesn't pay well.
Not at all. Like nothing.
Even like a big school?
Even a big, unless you're at like a higher position.
Yeah.
You're
so
paying,
like
you're paying your dues.
What level coach were you?
I was a position coach at a bigger university, and
it's like
making like $30K a year.
You're lying.
No.
You're lying.
No, it was brutal.
Stop
and you're working like 90 hours a week because you're breaking down film all day. You're recruiting. You're getting stuff ready for next week. You're breaking down last week. Like everything.
Is that still the case? Like, is that still like you think?
I think I'm sure it's still the case.
Yeah.
It's probably not quite as, it might be. I don't know. I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Because it's such a high demand job.
Yeah.
Like everyone wants to coach college football.
Yeah.
So you pay your dues until you get to a certain level. Then you make your big payday and then you start getting in this different level.
So is that like a head coach or like something?
Coordinators usually, like when you get to offense, defensive coordinator and whatnot. So
that's so shitty, dude, because like college makes so much money off their football teams.
Yeah.
Like, and I guess where does that money go?
Yeah. When you get to the big time programs, right? Clemson, Alabama, stuff like that, they're getting paid pretty well.
Okay.
Like even the defensive backs coach and whatnot, they're getting paid pretty well.
Okay.
But down to the D2, D3, low level D1 schools, not shit. Man.
But it's still in a high demand position.
Very high demand. I mean, you got to go to those places in order to like
to move up.
You got to start there. Yeah.
Is it similar to like I guess like actually athlete recruiting where they look at your how do they judge like
it's
how
a lot
good
of
you
who
are?
You know. It's a
Okay.
lot of who you
Okay.
know, and like you get opportunities from
Like
an
a
old
lot
coach.
of things, yeah.
Exactly, a lot of
Okay.
things.
Wow.
Community.
Yeah.
So
Back to Under Armour.
kid that I coached Under Armour recruited me to Under Armour. I was like, you know what? Like so they were opening a store.
Broke in a hotel.
I'm in a hotel where they're opening a store in Minnesota, Mall
Okay.
of America, Under Armour grand opening.
Okay. And is Under Armour pretty big at this time?
This is like right when they're booming.
Okay.
So this is right when they signed Cam Newton, Jordan Spieth, all these players,
Yeah.
right before they blew up.
Yeah.
So everything's on the rise,
Yeah.
and they're opening these brand stores, these big, really cool, high-tech stores.
Mm-hmm.
Mall of America, right next to Nike. And the guy calls me up. I go to this big job recruitment festival thing that they're hosting. And
So you were super open to the opportunity where you.
I was just like, I know Under Armour.
Yeah.
I'm in football. Like, I
Yeah.
get it. I can relate to the brand. He
Sure.
told me, he's like, oh, pay will be, closer to 50K. I'm
Oh,
like,
okay. I'm in.
oh shit, I'll come.
That's
I'll hear it
almost
out.
twice. Yeah.
I'll come hear it out.
Yeah.
So I go and they're talking about all these things and they're talking about KPIs and all these different like acronyms that I had no idea what they were talking about, really, because I have no retail background.
Yeah.
And they ended up talking to everybody, people with prior experience and all this sort of stuff. For some reason, whatever they saw was they're like, we like this guy.
Oh yeah.
And I was
and
like,
there was only one position.
there was 3 positions.
Okay.
There's like
and there was like a lot of people there.
There was like 50.
Okay.
And they were all retail people.
Okay.
Which was wild. But I happened to be one of those 3 positions.
That's awesome.
Which was an assistant store manager.
Okay.
And then there was a general manager. And then another assistant store manager. So I took the job. I'm like, you know what? I'll try this for a year. If I don't like it.
Assistant manager?
Assistant manager of an Under Armour. So that was my first step into this world.
Okay.
And so I always tell everybody, they're always like, how'd you get into marketing? And I didn't go to school for it. I didn't, people are always like, how'd you get that job? And I'm like, grinding. Like, so.
Grinding in what way?
In the way that I'll tell you right now. So I started and I realized I didn't know retail very well. So I leaned on my coworkers quite a bit.
Teach me everything.
Teach me. Yeah, I know nothing. So they taught me everything. But from there, I leaned into, I'm like, okay, well, they hired me for a reason.
Yeah.
What do they see? And I'm like, well, they know I'm prior service, I'm hardworking. They know that I'm a football coach and whatnot, so I know how to build a team and recruit. So let's build a team and recruit. So what I did was bring culture and create, programs for our development within our program. And then I started recruiting. I'm like, you know what? We need our numbers to go up. We need to, hit certain, KPIs and sales and stuff. So instead of waiting for everybody to come to us, I'm like, why aren't we just going out and becoming Under Armour and take over Minneapolis? So it wasn't part of my job description, but I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to go into Minneapolis. I'm going to hit all the gyms. I'm going to bring them Under Armour.
But you were just at this point, just this store manager.
Assistant store manager,
And so this is not under your...
No, I was just a sales manager. Yeah.
And so this is not your job description.
Not my job description, but I'm like, you know what, this will help this.
For sure.
So why not, go get my team involved. They'll like it, get some free workouts out of it.
Sure.
At the same time, I had the power to give, little 10, 15% discounts as an assistant store manager.
Sure.
If things like, someone was complaining, I can, I'll offer this percentage off, make the customer happy type thing. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to kind of blur the lines a little bit, and I'm going to go to a gym, offer them a whole private shopping experience, and offer all of them that discount. And so we close it at whatever time, 6 every day. So I would close it from 6 to 7. I would offer, while we were shutting down the store and folding everything, I'd say, you guys have a private shopping experience for your entire gym, all your members. Here's a perk for you guys. And you all get 20% off at Under Armour and all the coolest shit. And they're like, this is amazing. So then they, we kept doing this over and over. Every week we'd do one.
And this is just you and a couple team members?
This is just, me. And then I'm bringing another team member with me that I was training.
Yeah.
And
you're going to random spots.
Just figuring out as I go, going to random gyms.
Yeah.
Mostly all gyms.
You're just like Googling like gyms in this area.
I'm like, whoa, well.
Do you even give them a call, or you just go?
I would DM some of them.
Okay.
This is a time like Instagram starting to become a big thing, and I would hit them up, and I know someone who knows someone, or I know someone that goes to that gym. So I'd go drop into a class. meet the instructor, try to bridge that and like, create community. I didn't know what I was doing at 100%. The time, but that's what I was doing. So then every week when they would bring in their community, it would bump the numbers up that day. And so then after doing this for like 2 months, headquarters at Under Armour reached out and they're like, what are you guys doing different? Because your store numbers keep spiking every week. This is awesome. So I was like, just explained everything I was up to. And they're like, this is grassroots marketing. I was like, what is grassroots marketing? And they're like, it's what you're doing. You're going in the community and you're bringing them in, and it's creating that brand resonance within the city and creating some loyalty, and the brand awareness is now there. People know we have a store more, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. So they put a name to it. So then from then on, I was like, okay, grassroots marketing is what I do. So then from there, I'm like, okay, well, I like that side of the job.
Sure.
I don't really like the retail side that much.
But you weren't even like supposed to do that.
No, I was still retail. That was my job. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to lean far into this. I'm going to make it be very known, and I'm just going to keep creating. Like it worked for me once. I struck lightning, and then
let's do it again.
So the Under Armour team liked it so much, they had me get on a call with all the Under Armour stores and teach what I was doing. So they were really empowering, and I learned like they gave me the tools to then, create the next step. Yeah. So then I started doing more stuff. I created a sales program that was called Sharks Don't Sleep.
Sharks Don't Sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, you never see sharks sleep, so just keep swimming.
Yeah.
So it was like a sales program where like you made X amount of sales, you became a shark, and then I made these wristbands, and so our team was on the floor.
And this is like all of Under Armour started using this?
So yeah, we did it in our store, and again, our sales were doing pretty well, so they asked, and I told them this program, and then
so they didn't know about
that. Was a separate program.
So you just started doing this by yourself.
I just started creating. I was like, lean into my creativity, and I'm like, let's build team, let's build. And so then it became our thing, Sharks Don't Sleep.
Yeah.
And because I heard it on a call one time, someone said, Sharks don't sleep, get out there, sell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah.
So then it stuck.
I like it.
Yeah. So then you became a great white when you made a bunch of sales and all that stuff. So then if you're on the floor and you saw someone with a wristband, you're like, that guy's good, I should ask him for help. Sure. So it created this culture in our store of like almost hierarchy.
Yeah. But like the best type.
But good kind, positive. Yeah. So again, Under Armour reached out, and I was like, this is what I'm doing. So then they're like, roll this out at all the stores. So then they made, mine looked like a 6-year-old made it. Like it was like a black poster board, and I cut out sharks that I printed off. But they made this official Under Armour one that they rolled out at all the stores. And then they started doing their sales incentive program in the back of house.
Yeah.
And then they ended up opening a store in Boston. And they called me, and they're like, hey, we're building this all-star team. Your job will be 50-50 store as well as grassroots marketing and athlete experience. And I was like, I'm in. So I moved to Boston and helped them build out that team at the same time doing grassroots marketing in New England, and started hitting all the classes. And they gave me a little bit more structure to what I was already doing. And they're like, this is what you're good at. Yeah. Now we want you to hit X amount of
how did it feel at the time when I guess this was just all your creativity and things that you just thought in your head and did it? Yeah. And then Under Armour built this map that was technically what you were already doing. How did that feel?
It felt like I'm supposed to be doing this. Yeah. You have that moment of like, I'm doing something right, and it just kind of came from my brain, which is like, it felt cool. Like, all right, I'm going to push harder down that alley, down that path, and I'm going to see where it takes me. Yeah. So then I just kept going. And again, so they put me on the new store opening team. I started bouncing around in other new store openings and teaching how to do grassroots marketing in your local communities and all that stuff. So then all the teams,
all through Under Armour still.
All through Under Armour. I'm at Under Armour Boston, so then I'm athlete experience manager in grassroots marketing. End up making a bunch of connections. Worked with Tom and Giselle quite a bit. Worked with like Red Sox, Patriots. Any Under Armour athletes kind of went through me, and I kind of personal shopped them and helped them out and got them whatever they needed. Which again,
athletic stylist, bro.
For real, yeah. That sounds way better. Yeah, I'm an athletic stylist.
See, that's like the grassroots marketing, bro.
Let me update my bio real quick. But from there, that led me into learning how to work with athletes, learning how high maintenance they can be, or how cool, and like how to speak to them, and it's
just like a normal human being, or what?
It takes a while to figure it out, like. some of them are pretty normal, but there's a lot of like things you don't think about that they have to live with. That, like, for instance, Tom Brady and Giselle and whatnot, they come through, they never come through the front door. It's in the heart of Boston, the store. So they come through this like freight elevator in the back, and like all these little things, and you have to like learn like, oh, they don't want it that way, you have to do it this way. Don't even ask them about how they're gonna pay. You just zero everything out. And
it's
like
the same thing at the restaurant scene. Like Leonardo DiCaprio, he comes to my restaurant all the time, goes through the back. Like Rihanna, Ariana, they it's crazy because they build all these like cool, nice like entrances to everything, and all these like really high end people are going through like this shitty back way to like
the
not
kitchen.
be seen.
Yeah, for sure. Same sort of thing.
Yeah.
So from there, build a nice Rolodex of people that I'm working with and whatnot, and create some really good relationships. In fact, one of my best friends is Eric Rowe. He used to play defensive back for the Patriots.
Oh yeah.
Now he's the safety for the Dolphins.
Awesome.
Went to his wedding, like.
And did you meet him through this experience?
Through Under Armour. He was an Under Armour athlete.
Wow.
Came through, built a relationship, started joking around with him and his wife, and became one of my best friends. Now I visit them in Miami, and they visited me. It was pretty cool. So
sweet.
Just building those authentic
Yeah.
relationships and going deep with people has taken me all the way to where I'm at now.
Sure. How do you, I guess, go deep with people when you first initially meet them? Because if you're in like a big city like LA or New York, in my experience, it's very like shallow necessarily. It's maybe they don't necessarily want to hear, or they're just so interested in themselves that they can't really pay attention to like the other person.
Yeah.
You know, how do you like get that like instant connection?
Yeah. LA has been, again, gear shifting for me moving here.
San Diego technically, right?
San Diego now. I lived in LA for 4 years before.
Oh, sweet. Recently? So was LA right before San Diego?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We haven't gotten there yet in the timeline.
Not yet.
But
we'll get there, guys.
I think just in LA specifically, it's different than even New York. You know, LA is the land of like dreamers, and people all move here from small towns to make it and whatnot, and everybody is. You're right, shallow. It's hard to say, but like everyone is. How can this person help me get to where I'm gonna go? Oh no, okay, then I don't need that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of the mindset around here, which is unfortunate. But I think there are the people that are craving connection. There are people that are craving a community of other driven individuals, and they realize after being here for a minute that nobody gets anywhere by themselves.
Yeah.
So we all get further together, and that's something I say all the time, is we all get further together. There's someone in this room, and I host a lot of events, and I say it at every event, there's someone in this room that can help you get to whatever you want to get to next. So we're creating this community of creating that connective tissue. Sure. That's like, you know, I am a trainer here, or I'm an actor here, or I'm a bartender here. Yeah. But I'm in this community. I know him from that community, LSKD community, or whatever, you know. So it's realizing and having that credibility of like we bring people together and whatnot, and then listening to them. I think that's like a big thing right away, is not being like, this is what I do, either you're in or you're out type thing. It's more like what brings you in here? How do you know it? Like, this is sick. Like, welcome. Like, what can we do? How can I help you? Like, using that lens, and this is something I really believe in marketing, is using the lens of how can I add to your life as opposed to extract. Sure. So a big thing that brands miss on right now, I think, is, and some of the success that I've had is using a lens of how can I add value and not extract value. So a lot of brands are looking at like what can we get from this person, or this is how they do influencer deals or whatnot. And like, oh, we can get this, that, and the other. We can, you know, have them post this, and pay them for that. But instead, why not use the value of like, or use the filter of, why do they want to be connected to us? Why would they want to work with us? Why would I want to work with this brand if I weren't working here? Sure. You know, so
coming from a different perspective.
Yeah. The perspective of the athlete or guest or consumer, whatever you want to call it.
Do you know who Alex Hormozi is?
I don't think so.
No? He's this really big, like, I guess he started this company called acquisition.com.
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah, you do? So
Yeah.
that's his.
Okay.
And he basically has been putting out a ton of media about like marketing and sales, right? And you know who Gary Vee is?
Oh, yeah.
So Gary's whole philosophy is like jab, 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 right hook, right? I mean, give, like, and then like get type of deal. Alex Hormozy's like philosophy on like marketing and stuff is like give, like get, you know? So basically just put so much value into the world that you're making everything better that their only response is to give you everything.
100%.
You know?
100%.
Yeah.
I need to listen to more of his
That's
stuff.
exactly what you're just saying.
That's
you know?
That's exactly it, man.
Yeah.
Is
And like
adding value to everything you
and
do.
I feel like that's like the story that you've told me so far is like you didn't need to give like your time and energy to like that community of like grassroots marketing to build that whatever, you know, you weren't expecting anything, but in return of not expecting anything, you got everything you wanted,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And like I feel like so many people in Los Angeles or just like in these big cities don't understand that, because everything that like for my success in the things that I've done too, it's only by like helping other people, because like then you grow as a team. And the one thing I loved about your guys' two events that I went to, there was nothing like I've ever experienced, bro. Like all the people are super genuine, super kind. They sincerely like sound like they want the best for you, and they want to actually get to know you. And I've never experienced anything in LA like it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
so I just
awesome.
wanted,
shout out to Caitlin.
Yeah, shout out to Caitlin.
Yeah.
Shout out Miss Caitlin Moyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
And Caitlin's a prime example of finding those people that like want and crave that connection and to be a part of something bigger than you. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Heck yeah.
So I guess to go back to the timeline, Under Armour, I was doing that for a minute. Lululemon then dropped men's and it wasn't doing that well. They realized they needed to.
Did they hit you up?
So they were building out a team of men's community marketing. And I was like looking for the next step.
Sure.
And I was like, that's perfect. That sounds sick. They ended up recruiting me.
Yeah.
Joined Lululemon, moved to Chicago, was the Mid-Atlantic. So I worked across like the East Coast of the country.
Okay.
Building.
And you just left Under Armour.
Left Under Armour.
Yeah.
Right at the pinnacle of like when they were kicking ass.
Yeah.
You know, Steph Curry. Everybody was winning MVPs.
Yeah. So why would you leave at such like a peak? Was it just because you wanted to experience something new?
Yeah,
raise, something like that.
Lululemon offered something different, and it was just like very intriguing to me. Like all the stuff, you know, it's very foreign to me coming from a football military background mindset.
To like a yogi at the time,
100%.
it's yoga focused.
Yeah,
during this time.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a complete opposite.
There was no polos and like slacks yet, guys. Like, this is like you're wearing tights, and then there's like colorful shorts and like tank tops. That's it for dudes at this time. Yeah,
for sure. So it was definitely different. And for me, that's so inspiring and like encouraging and like very intriguing for me. So got offered this position, sick.
Is it similar to like grassroots marketer?
It was 100% that.
Okay.
So I wasn't doing any retail anymore. I was overseeing like, I think there was like 88 stores within my region of scope. But my job wasn't anything necessarily retail. It was just building community in those regions. Yeah. So what that would like, that's where I truly learned. Lululemon gave me a lot of self-development tools and whatnot, and they're known for that, and they're phenomenal. But that's where I really learned about Duke and Ocean, which are their back then.
I don't know what that is.
Those are their two muses.
Oh, okay.
So Lululemons back then. Okay. They've changed since then. Okay. But back then,
is that the reasoning for their logo?
No.
Okay, never mind.
That's just an aesthetic. But Duke and Ocean were their muses. Duke was the guy, Ocean was the girl, and they just created these, fictional characters that these are their ideal people to sell to. So Duke is, 33 years old. He has disposable income. He likes to do adventurous stuff. He practices, he's going to go for a run with his buddies and then do yoga in the afternoon and blah, blah, blah. That's their ideal man. And then Ocean, same sort of thing. So for me, that's really where I learned like using that filter and not, oh, this is sick and this would be cool for us. It's more like, what does Duke want? What does Ocean want? Like, what would they like us to do?
Yeah.
You know,
versus like this is what I would like to do.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's not about me. It's about we. It's about them.
Yeah. It's about who you're marketing to, right?
Exactly.
Basically.
So and like staying true to who we are, but now how can we add value? And that's everything that Lulu like taught me and ingrained into me and whatnot. So yeah, after a while at Lulu, it wasn't necessarily exactly like I love everything I learned from there and whatnot. It's just exactly the best fit for me after being on the internal workings of Lululemon. It was kind of a mean girls club, very like it wasn't everything that I'd
What year
hoped.
was this?
2018, 15, 16,
Okay.
17, something like that.
I think I bought my first pair of Lululemon shorts or gifted them probably like 2013, 14, pretty early.
Yeah.
And one thing that was like super different about the brand that I saw back then that I don't see now is like they're very inclusive now. Back then it was like no inclusivity, bro. It was like the same type of girls working there, the same types of fits, the same types of energy, and if anyone who's super into Lululemon now went back then, you would think it's a totally different brand.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've definitely revamped their entire branding
100%.
and image and whatnot and adjusted with the times.
Yeah. So it was like that
was part of that
reason?
transition.
Yeah.
Like that was definitely, I mean, a lot of that was changing at that same time. So, but I think a big part of that, the learnings for me, again, not only the speaking and using that lens, but it was also meeting people where they're at as opposed to trying to pull everybody in.
Yeah.
Which is, again, a different mindset. So instead of like, Lululemon, right? At that time, a women's company, right? It had the same Victoria's Secret effect where if you're a guy back then, you didn't want to go into a Lululemon store.
No.
Not at all. It's
no
a chick
dude
store.
caught dead.
You
in
could like
Lululemon
stick to
store.
your
Yeah.
girlfriend. I'm gonna wait outside and kick it on this bench while you're shopping. And
Yeah.
same thing with Victoria's Secret. So we were beating our head against the wall trying to figure out how to get guys into the store. So then instead we're like, well, why don't we just go to them? So then we started going to boxing workouts. We started doing activations at college football games. We started meeting them on their turf and not being like, hey, we're here to change your mind about yoga. We're like, lead with, guys are a lot more simple in a lot of ways where you could be like, I'm going to lead with product. Try these boxers on us for free. They're great. We know it. And they try them and they're like, all right, this shit bangs. Like, let's.
And then they go buy
and
like
then they
5.
come back. And then they'll go buy 5. Exactly.
The one thing that I love about they don't market it, but basically like if you tear something or it gets bad, like they replace it for free, dude. And I'll go and I'll buy 2 more because they did that for me.
Yeah.
So
they're taking care. They're adding value.
They add value. And I was like, I'm taking care of you guys too,
Yeah.
So you went into like these manly places and just like wore the product and gave it away. Is that like how you did it?
Yeah. Create community, start building them in and just like connect. And then they're like, so the number one thing, right? People buy into people more than they buy into brands.
Sure.
So if you can be that guy, if you can show that, I played football. I was a sniper in the military. I'm wearing Lululemon. Like, this is the best stuff there is, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, then you're like, oh, I'll try them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Like, that's the first entry point.
Yeah.
And then from there, we know the product's going to take us. So it's just a matter of relating, speaking that language, connecting.
Would you ever work with a brand that you don't love?
So, yes.
Okay. I don't want to get you in trouble.
No.
I was like, is he hesitating right now?
No, I will get to that actually.
Yeah.
That's a part of the journey.
Okay.
Actually, the learnings.
Yeah.
So from Lulu, I'll get to that here in a second.
Yeah, sure.
So from Lulu, got a job with Rhone, which was a men's clothing company.
I do not know Rhone.
So Rhone is it's an East Coast, New York based company that's same sort of approach to everything, right? Premium products.
Yeah.
Same price point as Lululemon. A big emphasis on mental health and men's well-being.
Sure.
Men's only brand.
Oh, okay.
So it's like their whole thing was like, there's no Lululemon but for men.
Dang, you're all over here, bro. You're like athlete,
Boom,
you're
boom,
yogi,
boom.
you're now over here.
So now I'm over here
helping
them build out their community marketing team. And we did a lot of cool shit, experimented. I'm super grateful for that time.
Yeah.
Because they were growing so fast, and they allowed me the freedom to just go. And that was where I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And I learned I can think bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, I could think bigger. Oh,
Sure.
I can do, why not?
Yeah.
You know, so like, oh, let me try this. Let me connect with that person. Let me do this. And that was when I moved from there to LA to build Rhone. And I was the only person. Everyone else is in New York doing it. And I was the only person on the West Coast for Rhone. And I'm like, I knew no one in LA.
Really?
I knew no one when I moved here. So...
Really?
No, I knew like one person. He was a Barry's boot camp instructor, but other than that, I knew no one.
Wow.
So I moved here, and I'm like, day one, well, I'm gonna hit every gym in the area in the next 3 months.
Like you were just on the road.
I was like, I'm gonna go hit 1, 2, and every once in a while I hit 3 workouts a day, and I would just bring product with me, connect with whoever's teaching the class, say, hey, dude, like, we're Rhone, blah blah blah. Here's some free stuff. Let me know what you think. And I just kept doing. Is that me? Shoot, sorry.
All good, bro.
And then so I just kept doing that, and building, and just kind of became that guy in the community. Like, oh, I know that guy.
Bro, it takes some balls to do that. Like, how were you just born with this gene, dude?
No, I was the new kid a bunch, dude. So I just started doing it, and I was like,
so
you know
cool.
what? I need to build a community. I have no community. I'm just gonna build one. So I just started connecting. Then I'm like, I'm gonna host an event, and then I host an event, get a handful. In the first like 6 months, man, moving to LA, it's tough.
Yeah,
and
it's tough out here, dude. Like when you first, I hated my first 6 months here.
Yeah, it's tough. I luckily, because of what I was doing and able to expense classes.
Sure.
Shout out Rhone. For letting me do that, because that's how I met everyone. Yeah. So I built this community of fitness-driven people. And then I hosted an event, had a good, I'm pulling teeth. Please come to my event. Please come to my event. I'll give you free gears. Yeah. I'll get gear. I'll give you free pictures. I'll give you, and they're like, all right. And it started growing and growing. And then the catalyst moment when everything changed was when I partnered with a women's brand. Okay. And it was a Lala in New York.
And you're still with Rhone at the time?
I'm still with Rhone. Okay. And I'm like, you know what? I keep getting requests from ladies and influencers and athletes and whatnot that want to join my events. I don't have anything to offer them. Yeah. But you know what? Like, it's about community. It's not about the product. Yeah. People buy into people. Let's create something special. So I'm like, all right, I roped in a women's brand. I'm like, now I got women's gear. Let's do women's and men's event, and let's see how it goes. From that moment on, it flipped. Instead of me requesting to host workouts at these different gyms, I started having gyms reach out to me. I started having people asking to join my events. I started sending out an invite. In 20 minutes, if you didn't sign up, there was a wait list of 10 or 12 people. Wow. Like, it just flipped. And it was because women are 100 times better at creating community, 100 times better. You think so? 100 times better at social media. Wow. 100 times, like, that's what they want. That's what they crave. And guys necessarily aren't being like, oh, I want to go to this group workout with a bunch of other dudes. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like, if, oh, so-and-so's there, and not only like, oh, she's there, and like, oh, my buddy's going to go. All right, like, I'm in. Yeah. And it just blew up from there. So then I started hosting these workouts that were like bangers. And like, it just grew this community. And then at the end of
Not necessarily about brands. This is strictly like.
It's not about the brand. It's about people. Yeah. It's about the community. It's about that connective tissue. Sure. And from there, I did a huge event that was like this kickoff party at in West Hollywood. And I'm trying to remember the name of the place, but I can't. And it was like, we had 367 people attend. And it was all the like most influential fitness people in LA. Everyone was there. We had people from Viore there. We had people from Legend. We had all these, and Legends was like just a sock brand at the time. Oh, so wow. We had like, we were blowing it up.
Viore was around back then?
Viore was like very small, but we were Rhone, so like there's a competitor, but like it was again, not about the clothes and the pants and the shirts. It was about the connective community and how can we help each other get further. So it was pretty special.
Did brands get mad because there was other brands there?
Some people would get mad. Yeah, some people wouldn't understand or grasp the like thought process of we all get further together in community marketing. And some people put a different emphasis on community marketing, and they have different translations for what that means.
Sure.
Like, you know, some people, community marketing is influencer marketing. That's what they call influencer marketing. But in the true community marketing background, coming from like Lululemon, who created it, in which has now become the hottest term on the planet, is just connection and adding value. Yeah. So anyway, from there, Rhone was going right. Ended up, COVID happened, and we had to like lay off, and I happened to get laid off. Oh. Which they cut our whole department, community marketing.
For Rhone.
Which was like way out of left field for me because we were crushing. Yeah. But again, it's a big investment. It's a big investment. Like, you can't plant the seed and reap the harvest on the same day. Yeah. So I'm planting a ton of seeds, right? And that's what I'm doing, building relationships and connection and whatnot. And it'll pay off down the road for you. Yeah. But you don't see that if you're not involved right away. Yeah. You're just like, oh, our numbers are doing great. It must be because of all these paid ads we're doing and all this stuff. But you remove community marketing and they cut our program. And then I was like, holy shit. And I was working with so many other companies. Once I put something on my story on Instagram, 48 hours later, I had a few offers from a few companies.
Oh, you basically said, hey guys, I'm looking for...
No, I was just like, I just said something about how, like, you know, unfortunate, you know, best of luck to my coworker type thing. Okay. Just like very vague, general, but people, you know, pieced it all together and whatnot. I got all these offers and I was like, oh, wow, people like are definitely seeing the value in what we're doing in community and whatnot. So,
which again, some solid affirmations to like, okay, we're doing something.
I was like, okay, I feel good again. Yeah. And then one of those companies was Melin, and that was the homies Cam and Gabby and Brian and a couple of those guys over there. Very small, hungry, and humble team, and they reached out, and I was like, yep. So 48 hours later, I was like, okay, good, I'm working again. So, and I had a lot of, like, you know, after getting laid off and whatnot, and I'm like, I had so much like fuck you in me that I'm like, I'm gonna blow this company up and show you. Yeah.
So you had a fire under your ass.
I did, and there was a few programs I wanted to try. There was a little too much of an investment for Rhone to try. When I got to Melin, they're like, yeah, try it, do it, and I was like, let's go. So Melin was a smaller company. They just released the performance hats.
Bro, my favorite hat. So
great hats.
I've never done an event with you guys for the Melin thing. I got one code from Caitlin, and then I bought 8 hats. Dude. Like they're my favorite hat, dude. Like I run, surf with them, anything like that. The product speaks for itself. So
I'm so happy you mentioned that. Yeah. So the first thing I did when I got there, besides build an ambassador program, that was one thing that I did, was launch this 5 for 5 program for our ambassadors.
What's that?
Which was every ambassador got 5 codes to then gift their community. So the idea was like, we just need more people trying the product. Yeah. It's a great hat. Sure. People aren't going to spend $60 on a hat.
It's an expensive hat. When people look at the price,
they're like, I'm not going to buy a hat, a trucker cap for $60. Yeah. But once you get it in your hand, you put it on your head, you're like, I get it now. Yeah. So the goal was to get as much out there as possible and just let it spread word of mouth. Sure. And this all stems from a thought process of Law of Lovers. Again, I learned at Lululemon.
Law of Lovers. Okay, what is that?
It's a marketing term. Okay. I actually learned from the top dogs at Lululemon. I went out on a hike in Vancouver with some of their higher ups. Yeah. And they told me the Law of Lovers, and I'll give you the unedited version. Sure. I'll give you unedited version. Okay. So Law of Lovers is, if I go around town and if I hook up with a girl and I go around town and I tell all the other girls that I'm so good in bed, they're all going to think I'm a creep. Sure. But if that girl goes around and tells all the other girls how good I am in bed, they're all going to want to try.
100%.
That's what I learned from the Lululemon.
And they gave you that example.
That exact example. Wow. And I was like, haha. And then I'm like, oh, that's true. Yeah. So it's coming from a trusted source. It's coming from someone I already know, I already love, I already trust. He tells me, or in your instance, Caitlin, you're like, oh, I already know this person. Like, you know, I vibe with her. And it's not coming from a brand. It's not coming from an expected from me working for Melin. That's like in your DMs, like, hey, try our hats. Yeah. We're the shit. Of course I'm going to say that. It's expected. But if it comes from someone that doesn't work for the brand, that you already trust.
Yeah.
And they're offering you this free cap with nothing in return. Like we're not requiring a post. We're not requiring, we just want to gift you a hat, try it.
Yeah.
And then you wearing it around, now all these people are seeing you wearing it.
Yeah.
You vouch for it. Man, they gave me this hat. They're so sick.
Yeah.
It's all positive.
Yeah.
So it's adding value.
So like I bought those 8 hats, and like all my workout buddies, like who aren't in the fitness space. So like one of my best friends was like a huge creative director for Apple. Another buddy was just like a dancer who really good, all these things that were not there. And like they only saw me wear this hat because I just fuck with the hat. Like it fits my head where I'm running all these things, and all of them buy hats. Yeah. And it was just because of like literally Caitlin gifting that hat, bro.
Dude. That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
And that idea, just like I had this idea at Rhone and I wanted to do it. And again, it's clothes, it's a little different, but it could work. You know, it could do a gift card.
Yeah.
You know, it could be the same thing. Go on the website, pick something.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work out.
And then
so
when
I went to Melin, and I'm like, fuck it, we're gonna do it over here.
Yeah.
And it worked so well.
Yeah.
It just comes from like a thought process of, you know, this idea popped in my head. Let's try it. Like play from a big thing that I believe in is play from inspiration, not desperation. So I never want to be the retaliation brand. I never want to see someone do something and do that. Or I always I don't want to do something better than anyone. I want to do something different than everyone.
Yeah. So it's Apple's slogan for the longest time. Think different.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And a lot of Steve Jobs stuff like really resonates with me.
Yeah.
I was actually just telling Jason Daniel, who is the CEO of LSKD, we were just talking the other day about things, and we were talking about like certain products and whatnot, and price points and stuff like that.
Sure.
And then like, you know, making premium as opposed to like, should we make some of this or that and the other that's not quite as, I'm like, no, dude, always premium. It's our brand. And it reminded me because you said Steve Jobs' quote that he said was, first class and coach both land at the same time. People will pay for the premium. It's a matter of connection and, you know, adding value.
Sure.
So if it adds value to your life, you're going to pay for first class, and maybe you can get some more emails done. Maybe you can, whatever. It's going to land at the same time.
Yeah.
You're paying for that, you know, that premium, that extra, that connection.
Yeah. I read his book, dude. Walter Isaacson wrote a biography about him. Yeah. It's like a 1,000-page book. And the amount of details that he put into like making the Apple Store from the floors to the ceiling to like everything like that, all premium. He's like, this has to like scream Apple. Yeah. You know, but not say anything. Be super silent, but still scream it. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah.
And they have, I mean, that was like another marketing thing that I read was like, what was it? If you had someone design a store and you didn't see the store, but you had a brand without like a direction or something like that. If you had, oh God, I'm going to get destroyed for saying something like this, but if Fabletics made a store and
I think they have a couple now.
Yeah, right. But if you've never been in one, you close your eyes and you're like Fabletics store, you couldn't really picture what it's going to look like in there.
I have no clue. Yeah.
But you say Apple store or Nike store.
Yeah.
You know exactly what it's going to look like.
You know exactly.
That's brand.
Yeah.
Like that's premium and that's brand association in your head, and that's doing things from the bottom up, from the ground up.
Yeah. That whole desperation thing too, like you're not trying to like, you shouldn't be trying to beat people like in life too. It's like
definitely.
There's
enough people.
There's enough people, dude.
Exactly. Yeah. Do it different. You can always connect on a different level with other people.
Yeah. Are we to the point in the story or the timeline where the product, would you work with the product that is not necessarily like premium or a product that you're not a fan of?
Yep. So that's the next step.
Oh, God.
So from there, I got offered, I'm not going to say.
Yeah, don't.
But I will say I got offered a position with a company outside of clothing, anything like that. It happened to be in the like drink and bar space, if you can put it together.
Sure.
And I loved all the people I worked with. I actually loved a lot of the things I was doing there, and I believed in the mission because for me growing up, Red Bull was like one of my muse it still is one of my muse companies. I love how they do things. Yeah. And
their marketing's insane.
And one of the big things I learned from there is, which I do now with all my teams, is number one thing is I always say is like, all right, marketing ideas. Here's my number one thing. No ROIs. Yeah. No return of investment.
Yeah.
What would you like? What should we do?
Yeah.
Because then it instantly flips that.
It opens up this whole avenue of like possibilities that if money wasn't an issue or whatever, what can we do to make this thing grow to the highest potential?
It forces you to use that lens of the athlete.
Yeah.
What would be sick?
Yeah.
Because if you think it's sick, that's probably what other people would think is going to be cool.
Sure.
So
because they also buy into people. For
Yeah.
that. They like you as a person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what Red Bull does. You know, it's just like
they also,
helicopter flying over New York City.
The thing is their events, or the things that they do are super extreme.
Yeah.
Like they'll have like these skiers that they'll build this whole ass ramp just for like this one clip.
Yeah.
And then it's all over. And then everyone's like, I'm going to go get fucking Red Bull because it makes me have wings.
Totally.
You know?
I mean, that's the brand. That's an energy drink. You should be doing crazy stuff because you're hyped up and whatnot. It aligns really well.
Yeah. So you were at this company?
I was at this company doing my thing. And again, they recognized that Melin was blowing up and Rhone was blowing up and Lululemon blew up.
All the things that you touched?
Yeah, kind of. Like the teams that I was working on, we were doing a great job. So they recognized that and they're like, we need you to do that over here. And I was like, okay, well, it's going to take this. And they're like, great, we believe in community marketing. And I was like, sick. So I went over there, started doing my thing. And at first it was like, yeah, we're doing it. I was able to build a team and all that stuff. And we started, and then I don't know what it is, but a lot of people say they believe in community marketing. And again, that's the filter that I was, or not filter, but the translation that I was talking about before. Sometimes community marketing is influencer programs and numbers and stuff like
it's like
that.
You have to define what it is before you actually like it.
Right. And that was a learning moment for me. And it's not how I see things. So there was definitely,
so the value just didn't align.
The values didn't align. And that's a perfect way to put it, because that's exactly what it was. And I don't take anything from it. It's just the values didn't align. They're great people, great time, all that stuff. Love the company. I still love everybody. I still work with them. Yeah. They're fantastic. But the values just in how we operate didn't align perfectly. So, shit, what was I going to say there?
I don't know. You were just we were just talking about how you got to this company and how like we didn't necessarily talk about the product here. That was the initial question. It was just like, would you ever work with a company that you don't align with the product?
Perfect. Yeah. So yes, at the time, I thought I aligned a lot more than I found out I did, which was a learning moment. But again, I try to view everything positive. Okay, what did I gain from it? I have so many more tools in my belt that I didn't have before working there. Sure. So I got to work on multi-million-dollar athlete contracts. And then I got to do ads, more like out-of-home, billboards, stuff like that. I got to learn a lot of sides of business and marketing that I never knew before. I never had to do and never had a super big interest in.
What did you study in college?
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice.
Vocational rehab.
I was just so curious because like all these things that you said you didn't study marketing in college, like it just shows like to the average person out there that like if you're hungry enough, you could learn it in some way.
Totally.
You know.
Totally. And I believe in that. I mean, and the big thing is like, right, military, like I don't have to be anything to do with military. Like you don't have to like corner yourself into anything. You can do whatever. And I think for me, it's just like, I just keep following passion. I just keep following passion. And I was at that
passion or intuition too. Cause like you don't, would you say like, I don't know, you were passionate about these brands before you dived into it? Or was it like your intuition like, oh, I'm curious?
Good. Hey, good point out there. I think at Lululemon, right? That was a perfect example because I think that was more intrigue and intuition because I didn't necessarily align with everything. I just knew they were premium and I knew what they stood for and I was interested. And I was like, I would love to learn more and I want to go down that path.
Because it sounds like it's like a lot of bets too. Like there's this book called Thinking in Bets by Annie Dillard. She's I think she won the World Series of Poker, but she's a woman professional poker player. Yeah. And she compares like poker to like life decisions. Everything's a bet, like you're just weighing your odds. Like, and is it going to be worth the outcome of your input? Opposite of, I guess, like your marketing strategy.
For sure.
But it's a life decision thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I was betting on that it was going to benefit and add value.
And it did.
It did.
You know,
learned a lot. So, but from that company, again, learned a lot, got a bunch of tools, ended up connecting with LSKD from there.
Okay.
So
From that last company.
From that last company.
Okay.
Ended up connecting on social and partnering on events with LSKD, where I'm at now, and ended up recruiting me over.
Have you met most of your connections and stuff from social media, the internet?
A lot from social media, a lot from Instagram, LinkedIn, whatnot.
Have you had any advice for like people who are trying to connect and get into a community, if that is fitness, if that is restaurant industry, if that's bar, whatever your, I guess, niche is, like where would they start?
I think just diving into that area and connecting, reach out to people. It doesn't, like, sending a DM is always such a weird concept and feeling and whatnot, but like, what's the worst
they
could
respond.
say? They don't respond.
Yeah.
They say no. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
That is literally the only.
It's like asking girls out, guys.
Exactly. We don't have time to go down that, but yeah, that's it, man. It's just like, make it be known, put it out there. You want to start doing this, start putting it out there.
Sure.
You never know, like, who you never know, who's in your community.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of like connecting and putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
I think DMing, asking around,
Sure,
asking me to do a podcast, like, it's just all building community. It's all connection, man.
Sure.
So.
And so now you're at LSKD. What's your, I guess, official? Do you have a title?
Head of US.
Head of US.
Just head of US.
Just head of US.
Yeah. So
okay.
we're again, Australian brand and expanding into the US.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing for me is it's been amazing.
Yeah.
Since I started September 1st, so it's been like 6 months.
Okay.
And
it's not that long.
No, not that long. Just moved down to San Diego when I started, so 6 months.
Nice. San Diego's a nice area too.
Oh, I love it down there, man. Yeah,
it's pretty.
Down in Pacific
Beach. A little bit lower pace.
A little bit slower, which I like. So traffic is like 1% of what it is up here.
Yeah, LA traffic. I don't experience it too much because I usually drive home late at night and like during not rush hour. But anytime that I go out besides those hours, it's wild.
You're gonna spend a couple hours a day.
Sure.
But I think the biggest thing for me is the values and the mission. If I were to write values for myself and like what I do, they'd probably be almost identical to what these company values are.
LSKD.
Yeah. So it's like everything, like it's enjoy the journey, and I'm like, God, that's me. Like I'm just stoked to be here. Like I'm pumped about everything along the way, and we have another one that's create a community. That's one of our core values. So I'm like, okay,
that's who I am.
Check. Sweep the sheds. Like nobody's bigger than the team. We can all help each other.
Put some work in.
There's a better way to do it. Find it, and it's again, it's not like how can I? It's just like think different, you know, and then. Move fast, break shit. That's another one of them. That's a core value of our company.
Move fast, break shit.
That's
like breakthrough type of deal.
Yeah, just like we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just stop. Like
apologize after.
Apologize after. Stop. Stop dragging your feet. Let's go for
get
it.
After it.
Let's get after it, and then we'll adjust along the way.
Yeah.
We'll break some stuff along the way, but that's how you learn.
Is there anything different about this like role that you're playing now that is different than your past positions?
Yeah, for sure. I think again, things that I'm grateful for at the last company is it taught me a lot more like leadership and how to have hard conversations and I think building a team and being mindful of what you're saying and again, I was all the way back to high school coaching. But a lot more in the professional environment.
Sure.
So I think that has really helped me now because again, I'm not necessarily just marketing anymore. So for me right now, it's like we're building a team. We're building an HQ down in San Diego. So if you guys
I saw your stories. Is that going to be a shop too?
Yep. So the front will be a little storefront. Okay. We'll have our office and then we'll have a warehouse and a community space. So again, a big thing about leading into the US is we're here for the long haul. We're not going to be another one of these like burnout brands and Instagram brands. We're leading with the filter of community marketing. So the goal is, again, I put it out there. I put everything out in the universe. I told my team, I'm like, hey, my goal is to be the first like CCO of the company, which is like community officer. And I'm like, nobody's doing that. And I feel like it's something that needs to happen. And that's going to be on the future.
So I work with I've worked with a lot of big companies in the hospitality space. So it's not like different world than you're in, you know? And the one thing that I see those things lacking is community, and it's not necessarily, it's because they don't think it's valuable, you know? And like, it's weird because the only reason that I see big companies who are successful is because everyone knows everybody. Everyone's like just friends, and like you don't see a lot of turnover in those areas, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So shouts out to what you're doing, bro. It's really cool.
Dude.
If you had a say, like, what makes LSK different besides the values in the community? Like, is there something about the product that makes it stand out? Like, in your opinion, like you probably know it better than any person that any influencer out here, you know?
Oh,
so what do you say?
I mean, the gear is great. The gear is phenomenal. It's top tier. We're at a we just signed with a new manufacturer, and they're making some top tier product for some other big name brands.
Sweet.
So it puts us in the realm of the other big names. So
Heck yeah.
I think our product, once you get it in your hands, again, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, get the short shorts, guys. They're my favorite shorts.
Get the short shorts. We make the 5 inches. We're coming out with shorter down the road here. We're getting into running a little bit more.
Yeah. Because it's seen different. Going back to like geography of certain places, like Caitlin hooked up like some fits to the owner of the gym that I rent out over here, and they go on 8 to 26 mile barefoot runs, like with the sandal or like no shoes.
Oh, I saw this.
Yeah. And like he's just repping like LSKD. It's really cool, right?
Yeah.
Going across these mountains. And then he was like, oh yeah, in Australia, like I was looking, like their stuff looks more like CrossFit-y. You know, it's promoted through CrossFit over there. And then like in these areas, it's more like bodybuilding or something like that. So it's cool to see like the geography of like what everyone views these clothing as.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think I think we lead with a little bit different filter.
Yeah.
And we don't want to like be a CrossFit brand.
Sure.
Because we're not just a CrossFit brand. We have 3 different pillars. We're sports, which CrossFit falls underneath, fitness, and adventure, which kind of separates us from other brands, I think, because again, we're Australian, and part of the lifestyle over there, after being over there a few times with the company, is like our motto is, or a hashtag is, or a motto is chase the vibe. So that is definitely the culture over there. Is you're waking up, you're hitting a hard workout.
Chase the vibe, mate.
Chase the vibe. It's your day. So it's all about going surfing. It's all about, you know, hitting the beach, going for a hard bike ride. It's going.
That's what's up. I like that.
It's just you're chasing that vibe of like, you know, 1% better every day.
Yeah.
And I think we're trying to make sure that we encompass all of that when we're working over here. So I think that's kind of what separates us. Yeah. And that's what really drew me to the brand is like I identify with a lot of those things. I'm big into adventure.
Yeah.
Like I used to work with GoPro quite a bit, so I'm into all that stuff.
Yeah.
I obviously into fitness, been a big part of my life, and then sports. So it's kind of like
it's you.
It's kind of like let's go. So and I think it relates to a lot of people, you know. So it's I think the future's bright.
That's what's up, man. Yeah. Before we close up, a couple questions. When you came back from the military and you had that feeling of like I don't know what the fuck I want to do with my life, you know, like a lot of people have that. Like I've been there, I've experienced it, and there's a lot of people who like are stuck in it a very long time. What advice would you have for like people who are in that space?
Dude, I had this feeling until I was 28. So it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do. I was just, again, following passions, following intuitions.
Yeah.
I was going down like, well, I'm good at this.
Sure.
You know, like I'm going to try it out and be like, oh, well, I'm also good at this and I like this more. So I'm going to go down that. And one thing led to another, and here I am. So I think, I guess advice would just be, don't stop. Yeah. That's like where you get into trouble, right?
Sure.
Is it just don't stop, keep hustling.
Keep going.
And connect with as many people as possible. Because it's one thing I've learned is it's who you know. Yeah. Like it's always who you know.
Which people say, but like it's true.
It's so true.
You know?
It's so true.
And the second, the last couple questions.
There's people that are way more qualified than me.
Yeah.
That aren't where I'm at.
Yeah.
Because it's who I know and who I connect with.
Yeah. And I feel it's like undervalued when you're growing up in this like school system for sure. Yeah. In terms of ideas, I think about this a lot, and you know how you basically talked about all these ideas that you capitalized on and you did, right? And it ended up like, I guess like leveling up your skill set as well as probably like your career. Have you read the book, or do you know what Eat, Pray, Love is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Do you know who Elizabeth Gilbert wrote Eat, Pray, Love. She also wrote this book called like Big Magic.
Okay.
And she has this theory on ideas that basically if you don't pick it up, someone else will. You know, and like her example, I guess like proof of it was she wrote this full book, like characters, same place, same time, exact same storyline, but she never published it. And she met this writer down the road who wrote this book, and it was verbatim the exact same thing, except the names were different and like a couple little details were different, but it was the exact same type of bridge. Everything was exactly the same.
Sure.
Right. And so I guess my point, bringing it back to you, is how do you start? Do you believe that like someone else would have picked up on the idea if like you didn't choose to do it? And two, like with no one else doing that idea, what gives you the courage to actually like start putting pen to paper?
Yeah. Oh, good question. Yeah, I think I mean definitely someone would fill that gap for sure. I think it was already starting when I moved to LA, and some of these ideas that I did at Under Armour and whatnot. Yeah. Certain things were already starting to happen in a different way. Like community was being built in LA with, you know, a couple other brands and whatnot, but they weren't doing it in the way I was doing it. Yeah. So it's not, again, I'm not trying to do it better than them because they're already doing that. So in order to fill this gap, I'm going to think different and I'm going to do it this way. Yeah. So I think, yes, I think in a different way, maybe it's people will always fill that gap, that story is pretty incredible. Yeah. And then the second part of the question,
how do you put pen to paper?
How do I put pen to paper? Honestly, I think that's just been a lot of my life is just
doing it.
Just doing it. And just going for it. You know, like what's the worst that can happen? Yeah. When I started doing these things at Under Armour, and the worst that can happen is they say, don't do that. Yeah. You know, like, okay, sorry, I'm trying to benefit. I think like the thing is if you're adding value, you can never go wrong. Yeah. So like if you don't know where you want to go, just keep adding value to your life and you'll get there.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt to make things better.
Yeah. Always add value and you'll get to where you're trying to go.
Heck yeah. Last but not least, brother, what are you most excited for in your life right now?
Whew. I think right now it's building again. Again, it's something I'm passionate about. I think it's a new chapter I'm building. It's new challenges for me. Yeah. And I'm so excited to learn and fail, and I'm just really stoked to connect. And I think for me, this is a big international step. So I'm really excited about this next chapter of not only building in this small little pocket of LA, which is massive, but of Southern California, but now it's like I have people that are doing the work in Australia and New Zealand. I have people that are starting to do the work in the UK, and I'm actually going to London next week for some work. So it's like
started all with college football, guys.
It started with college football, man. It's just go for it, man. Man. Play from inspiration, not desperation.
That's what's up. Keep building, guys. Where can everyone find you, brother?
You can find me on Instagram. It's just my name at Jamison Bolt, Bolt, or LinkedIn. It's also my name. Everything is my name, so you can find me anywhere pretty much.
LSKD USA.
Yep. So Instagram for LSKD.USA. Yeah. That's our one that we're starting to build here. We also have just at LSKD. Okay. We also we're opening stores over there, so you'll find a couple of them. We're opening in Sydney and Melbourne and all over. So we're booming. Yeah.
What does loose kid mean actually? Do you know? Is it just?
So our founder Jason. Yeah. Again, another weird alignment was we both used to ride dirt bikes growing up, and he used to. It's like a term in Australia. It's an Aussie slang term, loose kid. And it's like, a kid plays it loose. Like, he sends it. Yeah. Like, so it's stuck. So he was the loose kid. So then it was his nickname, and he created the company Loose Kid Industries. And then it ended up being LKI. And it was LKI for a long time. In 2018, it was like pretty recently, he changed the name to LSKD. And that's when it took off.
Well, I think the marketing's better. It sounds better.
Yeah, it sounds better, right? LSKD.
LKI or whatever.
LKI, Yeah.
Yeah.
LSKD is like clean and crisp.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, everyone go check out Jamison Bolt, check out LSKD, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you later.
Bye.